peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
I want to call upon the people of Abazonia today, wherever you are in the diaspora, in Abazonia itself, that in a struggle you are bound to have divisions. But divisions should not divert you from the main focus, the main challenge. We have struggled to expose the happenings, the human rights abuses in Abazonia. The army has killed hundreds and hundreds of thousands, burnt houses of people, internet was cut off, schools were closed, dispensaries, hospitals were burnt down. Abazonians should not be intimidated by Paul Robia. It is not upon the leaders of Abazonia, because I am not from Abazonia. But I've played a pivotal role in making sure that I loud out the voices, I put out the call, I call upon AU, EU, United Nations, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International. Many of them have listened to some of the things that I say here, and they have come at last. America, United States of America, is slowly moving towards giving the Abazonian people the dignity they deserve. I therefore call upon the leaders and the leadership of the Abazonian people to unite for a purpose. The unity of purpose is paramount, as opposed to disunity, which has nothing but only produces ego that we have seen in South Sudan. What has killed South Sudan is not because they don't have the money, the minerals, the resources. It's ego between Riek Machar and Salva Kiir. We would not like to see that ego come to the people of Abazonia, the leadership of Abazonia. I call upon Samuel Sako, Akanga, Milan, and Eko to unite and talk with one voice on international scene that will bring about the peace, the tranquility that you yearn for since 1961, when the resolution 1608 was abandoned by the United Nations General Assembly and Abazonia was annexed by the Cameroon government by then. I call upon you, my brothers, to pick up the unity call and free your people without disintegration. Thank you. Way back in 1998, the late Secretary General of the United Nations by name Kofi Annan thought of an idea, brought an idea of saying the only way to bring world order where crimes committed that are not punishable in local courts, local countries, regional courts could be taken to an international crimes court. The Rome Statute and Rome Treaty of 1998 July was an offspring of already cooked DSGE intelligence system mechanism to keep Africa under check. Up to date, the French government pays 70% of the salaries of the International Criminal Court, from the porter to the judge to the prosecutor and the rest of the other people. This was a project of Kofi Annan and the Kofi Annan Foundation, followed by George Soros as an accomplice of Kofi Annan, brought in by Luis Moreno Campo and the entire system of the West, some countries in the West, to keep check on African countries that did not agree with the policies of the French and to their policies of Western culture. The International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor Luis Moreno Campo agreed in all this that yes, he has been picking money, extra monies, and we followed the story together with my group in France, powerful investigators in France who worked together with me, and we found out that, truly speaking, Luis Moreno Campo, Fernandez Gumedi, the former judge, the president of the International Criminal Court, laundered money, some coming from American banks themselves. This evidence was put in the ICC. In the case of Bashir versus the chief prosecutor, I filed an application, which I still have, and which I'm going to publicize again, so that people can know that I was right. I've been vindicated because the American friends now have found that my credibility is real, that I was right when I stood up to say this court is corrupt. This court launders money, $17 million of United States money, laundered through Bahamas, through New York banks, back to Ocampo's personal assistant, by then called Fernandez Gumedi Silvia, who later on rose to the ranks of becoming the president of International Criminal Court. It has taken us time, energy, efforts, resources to investigate the corruption scandal that have rocked the International Criminal Court. Why should African countries continue to be in the ICC, yet even the superpowers like America are saying no, we have enough courts to try our own people? Viewers, it has taken Americans over 20 years to listen to our voices when we told Rainberger in Nairobi that this court is a corrupt court.
Today, on the eve of September the 11th, I want to deliver a clear and unambiguous message on behalf of the President of the United States. The United States will use any means necessary to protect our citizens and those of our allies from unjust prosecution by this illegitimate court. We will not cooperate with the ICC. We will provide no assistance to the ICC, and we certainly will not join the ICC. We will let the ICC die on its own. After all, for all intents and purposes, the ICC is already dead to us.
A case of the Kenyan people
these cases in Kenya, the chief prosecutor called Fatou Bensouda put serious statements at the end of the cases, discharge and termination. In legal language, these cases pose a very serious threat in the future. What the people of Kenya can do, and they should do, is today to wrap up the work envelope. Because until this envelope is sealed, thrown in Indian Ocean, the chief prosecutor in the future will come and look for that envelope, use it to incriminate people again. It brings me back to the situation. America is sealing its journey out of the ICC. Why do you wait? Why don't you take this opportunity to seal your journeys out of the ICC? America is quitting, warning that it cannot no longer be a party to such an obnoxious court, a court that has no powers, that talks from this side and vomits from the other side, a court that cuts and pastes evidence, a court that buys witnesses, a court that incites incentives, gives incentives to witnesses of a passport and a relocation, then you tell lies about people. The court that sentences you as per the words there. Why should you leave a country that has a jury that checks on what the judges would do, the excesses of judges, and go to a country, a court that has no jury? Time has come for Africa to think. Do we need this court? Does Africa need this court?
First of all, let me thank you. I've prepared 2 papers which I believe will be circulated because they'll not be projected. But if you can see, first of all, I want to agree with the Honorable Minister. I've done 2 pictorials. One of them is described as Africa at the dinner table. And if you look at Africa at the dinner table, Africa is on a plate and it is meat. And the diners at the dinner table are France, the United Kingdom, the United States, the European Union, the Chinese, and progressively the Arabs. And my second picture is the African hotspots. It's not visible from there. But if you look at Africa today and you make a clean sweep with your mind, there are different conflicts of different intensity in Somalia, in northern Mauritania, in northern Mali, in Central African Republic, Democratic Republic of Congo, Guinea-Bissau, in the Cameroons, in South Sudan, and one can go on and on. And there is a sense in which Africa has always been alive to the question of interference. I will refer this audience, particularly those who are starting, to take time and read the 32 odd speeches that were made in the month of May 1963 by the then heads of states and government of independent African states, the 32 of them. And there are 2 speeches that I want to isolate for this presentation. One was by David Dacko of Central African Republic. And in thanking Emperor Haile Selassie and Kwame Nkrumah on that day, he said that we must never forget that the colonial power has not left us. We must recognize that he did not go willingly. And if we don't check them, they'll come back again. And what would little Central African Republic do against them? Today, he is right. Today, if we remember the activities of France and how they propped up the regime of Jean Bedel Bokassa, he was right. Today, as the Honorable Minister has indicated, Africa remains the only continent in the world that is referred to in these terms, Anglophone, to mean that we are a sphere of our erstwhile colonizers. About 2 weeks ago, there was a meeting of the Commonwealth in London, England, and a friend of mine who is an Anglophile sent me the photographs very gleefully, saying this is a meeting of 53 equal states. I told him, no. If it was so, why is it that the leadership of the Commonwealth is hereditary rather than rotational? In other words, in the minds of the British, her former colonies are still under her tutelage. And I want to submit to us that in the minds of what I'll call the conceptual West, they think they have a divine duty to instruct Africans what to do. True. And in the minds of many African leaders, they think that they have a divine duty to accept what they are told. That, in my view, is what the Honorable Minister was talking about, the mindset. And this is something that has been examined. We have seen France and its very pernicious presence in Africa. We know what they did in Burkina Faso against Thomas Sankara. We know what they did in Mali or the Sudan against Modibo Keita or against Sekou Touré in Guinea. Pernicious to the core. The Portuguese, we know what battles had to be fought in that area. And let me put this very bluntly. When the former leader of Portugal, Marcelo Caetano, was asked, why can you not allow the colonies to gain independence? This is what he said in substance. As I have examined world history over the years, the following have emerged: that the Caucasians have been responsible for monumental discoveries in the development of man. So have the Chinese, so have the Arabs. But the Africans have been responsible for nothing. They are only fit as hewers of wood and drawers of water. And I want to submit to you who are present here that in the conceptual West's unguarded moments, or guarded moments, that is what they think. And that is how they relate to Africa. So the whole idea that they will interfere is something that they think is their God-given duty. I said there were two speeches in 1963 that I wanted to refer to. I referred to David Dako. The second one was the speech by Kwame Nkrumah. And Kwame provided the solution. He did not complain about colonialism. He said, we must live here with one army, with one command. We must live here with one currency. We must live here with one currency, one country. I do not know where its capital will be, but I suggest Leopoldville or Bangui. Other leaders may have their thoughts. Kwame was right, but who listened to him? Several years down the line, and I've said it in my paper, there were coup d'etats which were engineered, there were mutinies which were engineered, and other forms of destabilization. And I want to believe that the person who actually said it very well in the 1980s was the former American President Ronald Reagan. He said, the United States of America does what is in her best interest. And I agree with him. Does Africa do what is in her best interest? Do African leaders do what is in the best interest of Africa? Interference will be there in very blatant and brazen ways and in subtle ways. I've always asked, until very recently, how many African countries manufactured bullets? Very few. Until very recently, how many African countries, in fact, how many African countries manufacture jet fighters? How many African countries are involved in the arms industry? Some of the leading conceptual West countries which pontificate to us about prizes, peace prizes, are the leading manufacturers of landmines. And if you look at their foreign exchange earners, it is the military and security items. So they say with their mouths, what do they not believe in their hearts? In Kiswahili we say, vita vya panzi furaha ya kunguru. That when the locusts are fighting, it is the joy of the hawk. Because when they kill each other, they get the food easily, dead. It is in the best interest, I dare submit, without fear of contradiction, that the elite in the conceptual West does not want Africa to stabilize, despite their assertion to the contrary. And you'll see it in every country, because conflict is a major industry. Today, you look at South Sudan and the many peace conferences that are being held, but if you ask who supplies the arms, who provides safe havens, it is the conceptual West. And when I use the term conceptual West, I'm saying that it extends to countries which are geographically not in the West, like Australia or Canada. So I'm submitting in answer to your question, Joe, that interference is there, and it is part, to use this old cliche, of the neo-colonial project. The neo-colonial project requires that Africa must remain within the sphere of influence of these states. Today, if you look at the United Kingdom, which has left Europe, one would have thought that those are their cousins and that they should sit in comfort with them. You will now see their involvement being de-emphasized in Europe, and their interest and appetite growing towards the Commonwealth. Because in the Commonwealth, they are the major domos. They'll tell us what to do. In Europe, they have to grapple with the Germans and the French, and they don't like it. That is the unspoken bit of it. The French also are in Europe, but the Germans are too strong, and they don't like it. So they want to hold Côte d'Ivoire, Gabon, and tell them what to do. I do not know how many of you saw the press conference that was attended by President Macron of France and Nana Addo of Ghana. And when Nana Addo spoke as an African should, you could see the body language of the French president. How dare this man speak this way? In other words, I'm saying that interference is the mother's milk of European economies. But to answer your second question, they have their own recruits who Professor Philip Nying'oro will be speaking here. To use the old vocabulary of those days, they are the people you call their comprador bourgeoisie. You must remember. The comprador bourgeoisie are Africans with black faces, but essentially they are doing the bidding of these powers. They are the ones you'll find them in different spheres. And they will be present, they are in your cabinet, but they are actually representatives of the foreign intelligence agencies of those countries. We know this. If you look at the declassified papers from the United States, we now know that some of leading cabinet ministers in many African countries were working for the CIA or some Western agencies. So you are sitting in cabinet, and in these days of the mobile phone, they are possibly texting their masters in Europe and America. So interference is also exacerbated by these comprador bourgeois for their own benefits, and it has never changed, Honorable Minister. In the early days of slavery, they gave some of the chiefs mirrors and alcohol. Today, what they give them are flats in Paris or in Dubai, and that is what makes them undermine Africa. The third mode of interference is through institutions. Look at the competition as it is now. There is a new entrant into the market that is called China. China is very subtle. Many people wrote the obituary of Rwanda in 1994. 20 years down the line, it has been demonstrated that Africans can actually do it. Between 1983 and 1987, I think Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso also demonstrated that it can be done. We saw in Somalia, despite their problem. So my prescription is African unity. Africa must now begin to negotiate initially in terms of blocks, SADC, ECOWAS, East African Community, and ultimately as African Union. And lo and behold, we must do it. And I've always said this cliche, we must do it, because if we don't do it, we will be done. Thank you.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family.
Good evening, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa TV, broadcasting all the way from Nairobi, the Republic of Kenya. Viewers, thank you very much for watching us this evening. This is The Punch. Together in the studio is none other than Miriam Ugutu, another flight to Doha, I think.
I know.
I was thinking of my daughter. My daughter's name is Miriam.
Okay. Good evening to you, Doctor.
How it comes that I again talk about...
If you think about your daughter, it's okay. I'll forgive that.
Yes, I did not think of anybody else.
It's okay.
And Miriam Ogutu, thank you very much for joining me in this program and this show, The Punch. I'll leave you to test the waters as it is now.
Of course, today we're looking at the money that, of course, was supposed to be returned. And just now, as I was going through Facebook, there's another very old grandmother that had gone to do some purchases with the old currency. I don't know, people are wondering, where were her children? Where was, anybody to help this granny? And now she went to purchase some goods, and nobody could sell it to her because she still has... she had the old currency. So I was just wondering, how many of these old people perhaps could be having this currency that the CBK governor has said has not reached at the Central Bank of Kenya?
Okay. Whether they have or they don't, they have it, wherever they have it, the deadline passed.
Yes.
So today we are looking at, after that, the way forward. Can Kenya win the war against corruption after demonetization? That word is the most important and the key word this evening. We shall try some economics, which we have read. Some of us are not economics students. We didn't study economics at all, but we did elementary economics. Most of the countries where money is traceable, is traceable through checks, bank transfers, not cash. Kenya can start a no cash account system only in emergencies. A no cash account operation can bring Kenya, because you will have a traceable approach. Traceable. If you are buying a car, you will have to go and get a banker's check. And then if that car is costing 10 million, you will be given a check from the bank. If you want to buy goods, you will have a credit card, a debit card. Kenya should start ways. This is one good way, the only way that President Uhuru Kenyatta legacy has finally scored. Something has been scored here. And that is the score that we wanted to talk about. But from here, where do we go next? Yeah, there you are.
And of course, the money that the Central Bank of Kenya has said was returned is about 60 billion Kenya shillings that people are keeping in their homes. I don't know where this money people has stashed. And so this 60 billion has been returned. And I'm told that when you are returning this money to get the new notes, you are not given in cash. You're told to bank it in the bank. So you're not being given like in exchange of you go there with 500,000 and you give the old money and you're given back the new money. No, you bank in that bank. If you don't have a bank account, you open or you go to where you've banked and then you exchange it like that. If you're carrying huge sums of money, because government has to keep track of its money, and so this is how much. I think that way now even the Kenya Revenue Authority will be able to get a hold of a lot of these people who have not been banking. So it has been very difficult to trace even the source of income of some people who make money in dubious ways. But now it's going to be very difficult.
So far, 3,172 suspicious accounts have been detected. It is now up to the DCI to enter. We want to take this opportunity to say one thing, to thank the governor of the central bank, the president of the Republic of Kenya, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, for having spearheaded this exercise. The 4 months that this exercise has been taking place has been hectic. We did not know, most of us did not know what to do. But one of the basic things that these new notes bring is the type of how they look like. They fit very nicely in the wallet.
That is true.
That is one of the good things. If you don't have it, try to have it.
Well, now they have it. They don't have a choice.
You have to have it.
They must have it now if you're carrying their 1,000
And
shillings.
surprisingly, if you go to the bank and you want the old notes, they are not there again in the lower denomination.
Or the older notes.
Yeah, the banks are giving you the new ones.
The new ones, yes.
So that will phase out very easily. That is very good economics that Patrick Njoroge has done, and this is something that has pleased so many people. The Kenya Revenue Authority can also stake a claim to the 60 billion in new deposits flagged during the exercise. So there you are. So many things are coming in. Individuals found to have made suspicious deposits will soon begin their appointments with the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, DCI, the tax ban and the investigative agencies.
Over 3,000 accounts.
Yes. It is a very sorry state then.
But can you imagine, Doctor, 60 billion Kenya shillings?
Yes.
Some people are just keeping around where we should have known these corners. 60 billion Kenya shillings.
The people have it.
In their
People
homes,
have.
under the pillow.
This economy runs. You see, how can the government, how can the government from here, we are now going to suggest ways the government can now make sure that corruption does not return to this system again. Suggestion number one, if you don't mind, I put it on the table for discussion. Scrap procurement tendering agencies. Appoint new tendering departments. Put there several tier systems on the tendering system. If there's a tender, a procurement board, let there be another stage, and then there be another stage. As soon as the procurement board finishes, let there be two other to check. That is one way to stamp now. You see, most of the corruption of Kenya starts from the tendering board, from the procurement boards. People on the tender board tell the others which is tenderable, what you can tender, how much you can do it. And this has been in the first 5 years of Jubilee government. The president did not look at this. We thought we were doing things very well. Someone was doing things, some people were doing things in a different way. So Kenya needs a tendering board, a procurement board, a board that can now refuse some of these things, reject them, And then there you close corruption. That's it. Two, we need to change the laws of corruption, on corruption. Corruption must take you to jail first. You don't just get automatic bail on the question of corruption. You have got to go to jail and dig and cut some pails of urine and some pails of some handwork, then come back. Then you will know that it was very bad to touch the money. Unlike some other crimes where bail should be given automatically, the parliament can change the law where the bail should be conditional. If you have stolen 2 billion, you have lost 12 billion, you can't be given bail until your case is completely, investigated. Then you come to court. It takes 3 days, 1 week. You are sentenced or you are released to go home. That is what Rwanda has done. And if we copy what Rwanda has done, and we bring it here as a sample, you will see so many people fearing even going to touch one penny, 1 shilling of the government coffers. Given all this, if you can have a general manager of a ferry without us knowing there were no stoppers, and this general manager, useless man, is still in the job, he has no conscience that there were no stoppers and the stoppers were not working, that the ferry should have stopped. Because he doesn't fear jail. He does not fear jail. He's going to go there and they give him bail and he goes back to his house. And they be suspended on half pay. But the people who have gone to the sea will never be suspended on half pay. They are dead. How can you be a manager? You have been given the management of a ferry. The first thing of a reef, anywhere you enter a ferry in Britain, from Britain to the Isle of Man, the first thing they tell you is to give you your jacket and give you your swimming rescue safety.
Your life jacket.
Life jacket. And then they tell you, if I were on that ferry that day, and I saw that big thing there, it is very simple. Maybe the sharks will eat me, but I would have saved that car and told people, at least got 1 person out. Because I would have broken the car and gone in and put that thing here and swim. I swim very well. I can swim 30 laps. Anybody who has seen me in Kempinski will know. I'm a very good swimmer, even going through under the water and then come up from that side. Very good. I could have swum and picked, at least you save a situation. The ordinary one inch sat and watched. This is a tragedy.
And took photos.
Took photos. You see, this is the whole problem.
And videos.
So to stamp out corruption, now we have done away with money. We know that 7 billion over of money is somewhere. You can use it for roasting maize. There are people here who like maize so much. In Zimbabwe, maize, there is a place where they roast maize. You find a queue.
But roasted maize is very nice. You put some chili on it.
Now I've also found you one of them. So these nuts can be used for roasting maize. They should not begin. This morning, I was very disappointed with one of the MPs, Mrs. Cholet. She was speaking like a lay.
On that morning show?
Yes, she was speaking like a lay woman. I'm very sorry. She's one of my best friends.
I watched her in passing. What did she say?
Do you know what she said?
What did she say?
She said, pastoralists have got money, they buy. So what? Then why are you the MP? Why are you the MP of that area who should have gone to tell pastorists that there is a deadline of the government, return the money, as you sell this cow, take the money. Don't bring those silly reasons anymore here. And these people always find a way to eat money. They want to bring something. Oh, pastoralists did not get they change the money. Oh, people in the market, the money was here. It doesn't matter.
So pastoralists do not return the money, do not go and
It
change
is
the money.
there that some of this money should be amongst Maasai market, those who go to Maasai ranches. It is a silly explanation of
Kenyans
you can
had
see a
4
person
months.
is lying.
4 months. We had 4 months.
We had 4 months,
Yeah.
and the whole former registrar of the court, a madam I respect so much, she's lying through her teeth. That is the life we have.
So now what did she want? Was she petitioning that the government allow these pastoralists to be given time to come and exchange the money? What was her point in this case?
That's exactly what they are.
She was saying. So maybe this 7 point something, notes that are still out there, billion, could be, some in Maasai land that the pastoralists were not able to go and exchange. But it has been running in all local stations, in all, even the indigenous radio stations and TV stations. This advertisement has been running for the last 1 month or 2 months. But Kenyans had 4 good months to go exchange the old notes to get the new notes. So I don't know what excuse they'll be having this time, because I think the Central Bank of Kenya took it upon itself to make sure that this message reached all Kenyans from all walks of life, and make sure that anybody who had the old notes had time to go and exchange them. So I don't know what reason or excuse they have that these people did not go. And what is the work of the chief in those areas? Barazas and elders?
The chiefs are busy doing politics. If you tell them there's a rally tomorrow, the chiefs will be very, very happy. But if there's no rally, they are not happy at all. Yes. They are not happy at all. They can't go and tell people about. But if you tell them there's a rally tomorrow, and after the rally there will be food and there will be some money left behind for you, the chiefs won't go to the world to tell people to come. No.
So you mentioned, Doctor, that perhaps the tendering process should be made in a way that there's tiers of it. There's the first committee of people who choose these tenders, and perhaps the second person.
And there be an independent audit of the tender, like a KPMG or Price Waterhouse, to look at the tenders, because that is where the problems of Kenyan corruption starts from the tendering process. And it comes from the then it procurement process, then it increases. Then people say, you get the lowest bid, but you are given the tender. You get the highest bid, and there's the lowest bid, they give the highest and they refuse you. Because people have already marked their people. Yes.
So what would be the criteria of choosing the people to be part of these committees, or the people responsible for? Because that is where the problem is.
We should avoid the politics on this, because you can see even today the National Land Commission cannot take off. Someone has petitioned the court and said these are cronies of President Uhuru Kenyatta, and they have blocked them. The court has blocked them from swearing in. So we have politics in almost everything. If people feel that my family is not part of it, or my clansman is not there, my person is not there, someone moves to court. So I don't know whether the Kenyans should create 45 positions on parastatals everywhere, so that each person from each tribe can sit, then you can be satisfied. I think
45 ministries.
Yes.
So each has.
We must have 45 ministers, so that each tribe can have a minister. So it is sad. It is a very sad issue in the situation that we see here.
And I was watching the news yesterday. I can't remember who exactly was talking, but they were saying they were blaming the judiciary for its laxity, and its. He fell short of saying that the judiciary is the weakest link when it comes to the fight against corruption. It had to do with drugs or something, but something like that. But now, you've mentioned the reforms that you need in terms of crimes against economical crimes. What are some of the changes that you want included, so that we make corruption a very high end? The stake will be so high that if you think
one of the changes is punishable. Another change is we ask these people, give them 60 days to return the money to bishops and clergy, to the churches and to the mosques. After 60 days, if you are found with such money or property, it is seized by the state. That's what some states have done, and they got the money back. People in Zimbabwe, Mugabe did that, and they got a lot of money back. People went to the bishops and said, it's true, I stole. Because corruption is embedded in all systems.
Yes.
It is there. I stole. You know?
So you're forgiven. But also maybe remember the cars that were being auctioned in Switzerland for the son of the president of Guinea, Equatorial Guinea, and I think it fetched about a couple of millions US dollars. So the Swiss who auctioned it took the money, and they said the money will go back to the charity of in Equatorial Guinea, which I wonder you're taking it back to the same people.
Yeah, but the man in Equatorial Guinea is the father who is the president. So how do you sell it? Okay, another way that the government of Kenya can now start is to look for the people, to ask every Kenyan to declare his foreign reserves. Yes. Let Parliament pass a law that everybody in Kenya who has got an account outside Kenya must declare where those accounts are, how much money is on it. Because why I'm saying so, 3 trillion shillings, enough to sustain the budget of Kenya, is lying outside. So yes, so what the government should do right now is to deal with international bodies to find this money to go into several foreign countries like Britain. Britain will be they will actually deliver you. They want you to be jailed. They don't want you to walk on the streets. Britain will be the first country to give you the list of these guys who have stolen the money. You go to Switzerland, you go to all countries, you go to Uganda, you go to Tanzania, where this money has been stolen. Every government official must declare how much he has in terms of foreign exchange in Dubai and his family. That's another punitive measure, so that the people should not have advantage now to go outside there, draw that money, and come and molest the economy. That is what the government should do. Yes, I think that is one of the best suggestions. What can we do to fight corruption? If you now know every Kenyan has how much Kenya owe, not to infringe on the rights of the people, because people can bank where they want. If you have earned your money, let the government put a capping on how much an officer of government should have in foreign account. That will help the government in stabilization. Yes.
Keep writing to us, and let us know where you're watching us from. Yes, indeed. So, of course, after 4 months of demonetization, the Central Bank of Kenya has invited detectives, as the doctor had said there earlier, to look into over 3,000 accounts that were flagged during the time, this 4-month period, that all of a sudden, towards the last minute, over 3,000 bank accounts did not have that much money, but it was recorded that they were receiving a huge lump sum, deposits that was not consistent with the previous few months ago or a few years ago. And so these over 3,000 suspicious accounts and will now be looked into by the DCI and by the taxman and other investigative bodies. And of course, the story is likely to expose the roles in the country's financial system, which was expected from an exercise the President Uhuru Kenyatta's government believed was necessary to restore order in the banking industry. So money laundering and corruption were the two major driving points that made the government think it was perhaps a good time to change the Kenya's currency. Would you say these were the two major points, money laundering and corruption?
Money laundering, corruption, and to some extent to know how strong the economy is.
Yes.
We now know that the governor has to come back with a new method of filling this hole, because we seem to have been operating on pseudo pseudo accounts of money, 7 billion, which is stashed, which buys things, which buys property, which goes to the dollar. Look at the dollar. The dollar, since they closed, the dollar seemed to be stronger. You see, into a shilling, the dollar is stronger. It's gaining. We expected once they close, the dollar should stabilize.
Yes.
And this money is out. But you can see there's something that is lacking, which I know Patrick is going to fix. He's a fixer, and we wish him good luck.
And of course, some Kenyans were concerned over the 7.4 billion Kenya shillings figure was smaller than expected, that was expected to be returned to the Central Bank of Kenya. But of course, the CBK governor has come out and said that the demonetization process was very successful, so Kenyans have nothing to worry about.
They don't need to worry. That money, whoever has it, is useless. Use it for burning a house warming, you know?
They literally burn the house.
Yes.
They use the money to warm the house.
Yes, you warm the house.
They'll be setting it on fire.
You can actually go and put it, paper, I don't know whether paper can become manure. It can become very good manure. Or it could be made, if you can take it to paper. I don't know whether the review can help to make something out of it. But it is useless. They don't want it.
And I think yesterday the CBK governor, I think they took like a million of the old notes, the Kenya shillings, the old notes, and then they were, I think, was it grinded or something, and a million weighed like half a kg after the whole process. So it was very interesting. And also the reason as to why, the new money was necessary was because of the counterfeit money that was too much in the Kenyan market, and the fake monies that were found in the bank and things like that, and they call it wash out there. So do you think this new move will help in curbing the counterfeit notes that have been doing rounds in the Kenyan market through the older notes?
A very interesting thing happened in these banks. 24 transactions were individually valued above Kenya shillings 2.2 million. Only 24 people. This was one of the most successful errands. And then, according to the data compiled by the central bank, between June and 1st and August, the majority of transactions lied in the sums less than 1 million. So people were cutting off money and going back, cutting off money. You don't need to bank 1 million. You bank 999 and they come back.
That must be the accounts that are suspicious.
Yes, so they picked that 24 transactions of above 2 million, meanwhile averaged at about 3.1 million per exchange. That is exactly what happened. And here we are. How do we fight to the last minute corruption? How far are we on corruption?
I don't know.
Today we didn't do the papers in the morning.
Yes, we did not.
We shall also now have a look.
Yes.
Although the time has passed.
Yeah, the bit's still, but the news is still very relevant in regards to, I can see on the front page of the Daily Nation, the 7.3 billion dirty money cash locked out. So that's dirty money and useless money anyway. So they're still carrying out the problem, the conversations that you're having. Of course, these are today's papers. A bit stale, but I think the news is still quite relevant there in what is happening today. I don't know, there's a scandal here. If we even want to talk about it, we leave it alone. That one.
I think that one, people have talked about it
too much on social media today.
It always haunts whoever wants it.
Yes.
And for us, we are on the money issue.
We are on the money issue today. So I see even on the Standard newspaper on the front pages today, they had that Kenyans hold on to 7 billion in old notes. Like I said, Doctor, as I was going through the social media before we came here, there's an old lady who had like 2,000 notes of the older 1,000 shillings. She went to purchase some things and nobody could sell her. So Are there possibility outside of the dirty money and the politicians and the entrepreneurs and these people who have been having money the wrong ways? But could there be other genuine people out there like that old grandmother that did not know what was really happening, and now they might not get any help?
I mean, there are so many.
Of the over 7 billion that is still out there, and people like that are still holding on to the old money. So I don't know, is it possible they could be helped if somebody, like, I think she was about 90 or so years old, is there a way that she could be helped? But people are wondering, does she not have younger relatives around her who perhaps could have gone there and told her, you know what, this is what is happening, people are returning this money. So we're just wondering, this old lady, did she not have somebody to help her out there?
I mean, a social contract has collapsed, Miriam. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about the people out there, who is out there? Nobody. Mm-hmm. People are not there to help us, mm-hmm. and the people don't want to help. Who is going to help? People don't know what you have eaten. Mm-hmm. People don't know whether you have eaten last night. Mm-hmm. People are not concerned. We lost that morality. Mm-hmm. We lost, if people can take selfies.
Mm-hmm. Well, someone is sinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
It is a shame. And are you surprised that 99% of transactions that were below 1 million, or 99% of the money returned, the lump sums, 99%?
Yes.
Or below 1 million.
Yeah,
are you surprised?
They were very clever. They didn't want to be caught mm-hmm. by banking 1 million and above every day. Mm-hmm.
So they beat the system.
Yes, they beat the system on that. But all the same, we got the money back. Mm-hmm. They couldn't do it. If you had, people were saying you give it more time. Mm-hmm. People wanted less time. Mm-hmm. It could have been Make, like India. But all in all, the governor has done very well. Now his main aim is to preoccupy himself mm-hmm. on now getting the money from outside and stopping that money from entering this economy. Mm-hmm. Because what they will do now is to go to Dubai and draw the money and come back and inject in the economy, which could actually, and eat this new money that we have. Mm-hmm. Yesterday, I went to a bank to ask mm-hmm. for some money. The bank told me there was no money. That the vehicle was coming from some place all the way. I sat, if I found people seated there, and I said, can I have just 10,000 shillings? The teller, the man at the teller said, he doesn't have the 10,000 shillings. Mm-hmm. That we have to wait until a car comes. It came to about 3 o'clock, 3:30. What I did was to return. Mm-hmm. There was no money in the bank. Yesterday, the branch, at least the branch where I usually go, mm-hmm. it was not there. Mm-hmm. And you could see people. There was another gentleman who was even insulting the cashier. Said, what is all this? You have started hiding the money again. You have done this and that and that. Mm-hmm. There are so many things that were happening. So we should take opportunity now to make sure that this does not go back and kill mm-hmm. the economy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's a good thing. So for those who had thought that they'll just go and exchange the monies and get the new notes and go home with a lump sum, they're told no, you have to bank that money. You can't be walking around with these huge amounts. So for those who did not have bank accounts, they were forced to open bank accounts because the government has to keep a track record, especially if you're going there with huge sums of money. What do you want to do with the money under your pillows? At least bank it there, so when you withdraw it, it's on the records, so it will be able to be traceable. So I think, as the CBK governor has said, that the exercise has been able to achieve whatever the intentions, whatever that was intended for it to achieve. I think Kenyans now should just we see if all these cases we've been hearing of fake monies manufacturing in somewhere in Juja, somewhere in Ruiru, somewhere I don't know where, had become a huge business by the time the president now was fed up and and said, you know what, we need a new currency. And I like the manner in which he did it, because he did not make a huge hula baloo about it. We were shocked to learn that, during the Madaraka Day celebrations. And so especially the politicians, a lot of them were really surprised by this move. But I think it was necessary to clean up the Kenyan economy. And so let's now just see if these cases of money laundering will decrease, of fake currencies will decrease. Although there were a few instances, hopefully the government had gotten hold of that. But let's just see if this will make things change, especially, and help in the fight against corruption in this country.
Yeah. Any African news that you have?
African news?
Yes.
When I was, just before I left coming here, for the first time now, the United States has opened its consulate back in Somalia after 20 years of closure. After over 20 years of closure.
What did I tell you? Didn't I analyze that very well? I did. I told you that the United States is solely behind this whole episode, and it will end up there. If United States of America refuse to put Al-Shabaab as a terrorist organization, surely on earth God is watching. You disregarded how many Kenyans Mr. Al-Shabaab has killed, and the Ugandans and the Somalis, and you don't gazette Al-Shabaab as a terrorist organization, then you know there is more to come. I can see some people taking selfies at the International Court of Justice. The whole PS is taking selfies at that court. To appear that he's working, I hope he's working to make sure that this thing of Somalia comes down, and I'm happy he's doing some, at least go there and engage them. But it was very wrong if you go back to this thing again, it was very wrong for Kenya, knowing that there's a Somali judge, a person who has studied law, who is a Kenyan, agreed to go to that court with a Somali judge as number 2. Later on again, the other one left. This number 2 became number 1. And still our people in these offices packed their bags to go and sit there and take selfies. That's what they are doing. There's nobody is doing anything anywhere that can push. If you see the Americans, I told you, when America does that, America is talking to these guys. I'm telling you, anybody in Kenya who thinks I'm a madman, you will see. Whether you are in which system, you will see. America is talking to Al-Shabaab. I'm telling you. They are talking to Taliban in Doha. Are they not Americans? Are they not Americans? That's why they refused to gazette, to put them on the proscribed list. So you should find out why we have done the job for these guys. And now they are coming to open embassies at the expense of us instead of helping us. They are even tearing this country, Kenya. They are the people pushing an agenda to make sure that Kenya loses everything, becomes tones down, is cut down. Because they have now settled in Somalia. They have opened a consulate.
They have reopened it because they'd closed it in over 20 years ago.
Yes. It's their property. Now they have reopened. And you can see, we did the donkey job. But me, what baffles me as an individual is how a Kenyan lawmaker, a Kenyan legal expert can go and file when he has seen Yusuf Abdullah-Ki Yusuf heading the court without making first objections. We should have gone to objection now. We should be objecting. So until you reassemble, out of the 15 judges, bring us another judge, but this one should not be near there, because she's going to influence the situation. Whether you say she doesn't preside on it, she's the head, she's the admin of all cases in the ICJ. She's going to influence the cases.
She's going to influence the cases. And something else, of course, a Nigerian president visited South Africa yesterday and today. I think that over some PR stand, and they're trying to, South Africa is really trying to clear its image, of course, after the recent spate of xenophobic attacks where a lot of Nigerians suffered. And so he told the South African president, Cyril Ramaphosa, that Nigeria is planning to open more companies and industries in South Africa. Yeah, so that is something Nigeria is seeking to do. A place that is already very hostile. I don't know if will that calm things down when more Nigerian companies there are able to employ a lot of South Africans. Will that help in solving the xenophobia attacks there?
Buhari, how do you open more companies in South Africa?
They signed over 30 MOUs.
How do you open more companies in South Africa when an ordinary Nigerian cannot walk free on the streets of Johannesburg?
It's ridiculous.
How?
I don't even understand that.
So I don't know how they will operate, but God bless you. I have no problem at all.
Yes.
I wish them good luck. Nigeria is one country that I've been watching very carefully what they do and what they cannot do. I think I've reached a stage where I will conclude and make my conclusion.
And I know you've also concluded about Ugandan matters, but talk to me about the Red Berets. We've not had an opportunity to talk about this. Today I was just reading that a few members of Bobby Wine's movement were arrested because the government gazetted those as official uniform of the Ugandan Defense Forces. But they went ahead and wore them today, so they were arrested.
I have told you that I don't want to talk about Uganda politics. Because the opposition politics is equally radicalized than the government. So the best thing for us who have got hearts that have holes, the hearts that have holes, is better to stay away
from the politics there.
But since you have now dragged me in it, let me tell you what it is. And Isma is the symbol. If you are wearing that hat and it has got a logo of the Ugandan crane, then you have a problem. That's government property. You can wear any red hat without anything that touches whether a green hat, black hat. By the way, it is not only the green hat that was the red one that was banned. Anything that has got coat of arms of the government or a crane, because police have the same, the army has the same, the coat of arms are here, they will arrest you. But if you wear a red beret, flat as it is.
No, it was banned completely. You can't.
No, you have to wear. No, red without anything. You have a right to wear it.
They said that is the official UDF uniform, so you cannot compete with the army.
Yeah, but when you go to court and they show it has nothing to do with the logo,
the emblem.
Then the emblem. Then you will be walking free. Of course, the police now. I've just seen President Museveni tweeting, because we are friends on Twitter, although we don't
engage so much.
Yes. But we engage on Twitter with him. He just tweeted and said there is a law in Uganda that the police arrest people who are idle. Makanyago. You remember there was a law in Kenya called Makanyago.
Makanyago, what is that?
Yes, when you pass the railway, you are not allowed. Mr. President, go ahead and also remove that law. The Uganda railway, if the police railway police finds you crossing the railway at
They are railway
they,
police.
they arrest you. Yes.
Okay. What I know here in Kenya is that if
There was section 87. Yes.
if the train ran over you on the railway, then you'll be the one to pay the Kenya Railways because you're not
Yes.
supposed to be walking in
That
there.
is the law. It's Makanyago.
Oh, it's Makanyago.
You are not supposed to pass to jump over the railway. You have got to respect it. You know, this Bazungu brought us chaos.
I think that is on another level. Here, I think you can walk on the railway and jump on it. So there, if
No,
found-
you are not supposed to jump on the railway. In Kenya, it was a very bad law.
all those days.
Yes, Kenya repealed it.
Okay. But if you had an accident on the railway track and the railway ran over you, whether you're dead or not, the family will have to pay the Kenya Railways because you have no business being on the railway tracks.
Talk about yes.
Yes.
Talk about sports. Uganda came. The lady snatched a gold.
On the Qatar, the
Yes.
IAAF.
Yes, the world sports. Yes.
The athletics there.
Yes, World Athletics Championship. She snatched a medal. Very fast lady.
I did not watch that. She got a gold.
Yes,
Oh, that's good. In what?
in 800 meters. Is it 800? Yes, 800 meters.
She must be very fast.
Women.
Yes.
Then another neighbor of mine from Croydon, that girl grew up, the mother must be very lucky, from Britain. She snatched a gold in 200 meters. You could see this girl. I used to see her around the playing fields when on Sundays. I knew that lady would be very, very good. She snatched a gold in 200 meters. When this girl ran, I said, the speed she changed that corner.
Yes.
She even did as if she's driving a car. You know, I saw yesterday, it was very interesting. Thanks very much, Uganda for the gold, and Britain for the gold. Kenya is still the same. They are still champions, and they will come with their sports is about to come.
The long distance.
It's about to end.
That's where they shine.
Towards the end is when they will bag this
Yes, but
this
the,
gold.
The 200, 100 meters, no, you can't
No.
find Kenyans there. We can't find Kenya. That's why even our rugby sevens, because it requires a lot of speed.
Yes.
Kenyans don't do very well, but it tries. But the 15s, pretty well. Pretty well, but yeah, congratulations to them. And when the game started, when the athletics started there was a bit of problem, especially when it comes to the heat wave. It's very hot there in Qatar, and so athletes coming from other countries where there's no extreme heat like that were finding it very difficult. So we saw a lot of athletes even fainting before the finish line there. So, but so far I think they've been going on so well. And I don't know, I was just watching in passing some people saying because of the manner in which the heat is affecting athletes there, so perhaps FIFA needs to reconsider or rethink, having the World Cup there. Was it 2020 or 2021?
Yes.
The next World Cup there. So they were saying maybe it should be taken to another country, but I don't know how Qatar.
2022, I think. Yeah, but it's too hot.
Because of the heat, yeah. Yes. It's like in Mombasa. Who wants to run in Mombasa? It's ridiculous.
Oh, by the way, talk about Mombasa. Mashujaa Day, is it what?
It's coming on October.
It's called what?
20th, Mashujaa Day.
Yes, it will be in Mombasa.
This time it will be in Mombasa.
Yes.
Okay.
And it is in the North Coast, so don't worry. Come in big numbers.
Okay.
Mombasa people know how to come out on the beaches.
Yeah.
So they will come up in big numbers.
I
can see some people writing on Twitter condemning the president that people should not attend Mashujaa Day. The president cannot go to fix the ferry, surely. The president has appointed some people. And some people have not worked.
Are sleeping on the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe he needs to fire those people and bring more competent people there because we cannot allow Kenyans' lives to be put at risk like that. It's not okay and it's not fair. And days later, almost a week after that accident has happened, the mother and her daughter have not been retrieved from the Indian Ocean, that part at Likoni channel there. So it's very sad, and we're hoping that something can be done soon so that the family can have a closure. You know, the fact that you've lost your wife and your child or a sister or an aunt, and then on top of that, you know the body is somewhere there and you can't even find it. It's just double a tragedy, and it's heartbreaking. So we're just praying for the family, and hopefully they'll find a way of retrieving the body. It will assist the family, especially in terms of closure. So we call it a day, Doctor.
Yes, thank you very much. Viewers, we see each other tomorrow at 11.
Yes, indeed, we see you here for another edition of Good Morning Africa. I know we missed today, and I think yesterday we also had an afternoon show. But tomorrow we'll have the Friday edition of Good Morning Africa, and we have a lot in store for you. You don't want to miss it. But right now, thank you so much for your company, and thank you so much for engaging with us. My name is Maria Mogutu, and for me, right now, it is bye-bye.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.